thanks to First Consumer.
Movie of the week.
For joining us for this edition of Weather Center. I'm Sharon Resultin, taking you into the overnight. Lots to talk about in the weather as we head into the next few hours. We've got some potential for flooding heading into Horry County in South Carolina, northeastern South Carolina. We are also looking at still some pretty potent storms producing some heavy rain in parts of the upper Midwest. All of that coming up, and 10 minutes before the top of the hour, I'm also going to be talking about a tropical depression in the Atlantic. We'll start you up first back home in the lower 48, though, with the water vapor imagery, and from this you'll be able to see where some of those heavier showers are taking place right now. We've had some active weather throughout the evening on Wednesday in the upper Midwest, and that's where we continue to see some of the action, but also some persistent thunderstorms into portions of the southeast, and as I mentioned, into Horry County heading into northeastern South Carolina, some flooding occurring right now, some homes, and no doubt some of the roadways as creeks and streams are rising. Anytime you have a persistent area of thunderstorms just kind of sitting over one area, unfortunately that can be a byproduct of that, and we are finding that in some areas here. Not so much into Georgia, but into that one area in South Carolina. We've had some heavier rains into Florida, but a lot of that has moved on out. However, working into the mid and late morning hours on Thursday, more thunderstorms could fire up here, so keep an eye out for that. Heavier rains here, and in fact some of the thunderstorms that have been happening throughout the late afternoon and evening in this part of the country have been big wind producers and rain producers, so we'll be watching out for the potential for some reduced visibilities and maybe some localized flooding in parts of the upper Midwest. There's a look at how much rain you might expect yet through the overnight, and yes, there is some darker green there, an indication you could find maybe a ½ inch to an inch locally in some spots. Rain continues into parts of the southeast. It's a little more widely scattered. And once again, a look at the potential for severe weather. Not so much hail producers here as we go into the upper Midwest, but as I just mentioned, wind and heavy rain would be the things to kind of watch out for. I wanted to show you the jet stream pattern because it is going to be changing somewhat as we head through time. Notice it's riding high, well up to the north. That's what we would expect this time of the year. We're going to find a little disturbance riding on through. It will help to dig the jet stream down a little bit further into the east here and dig it down southward as we head through Monday and on into Tuesday. Few things to note from that. When you have a trough, it usually is an indication of unsettled weather, and really kind of supports more of a northwesterly flow, which in this case would tend to draw down some slightly cooler Canadian air. Another point to make is with a front hanging about this region late in the weekend into early next week, it's going to help to push that front southward, so we may see more of those showers developing a little further southward as well. But the heat still continues, and there's certainly evidence of that as we look into Wednesday's highs. Heat, our front well up to the north, the heat to the south of that front, and I'm talking about lots of 90s and 100s, so some impressive heat in the middle of the country. Different story in the northeast. Very comfortable for you. High pressure sitting over the region, cooling things down now for the overnight, and that's an area we could find record lows. Traveling out to the west, some hot weather here. Fairly dry though. Exceptions might be into parts of New Mexico and on into Colorado, but even those thunderstorms are winding down. This is where the rain will be heavier and more persistent as we go into the overnight. And again, your travel weather in the northeast, picture perfect. Just a few scattered showers and thunderstorms into the southeast. Let's take a look at your forecast. I mentioned the potential for record lows into the northeast going into the overnight. There's your area of high pressure in the morning, kind of drifting south and eastward as we head through time, so eventually you'll get on the back side of this, and more of a southerly flow will help temperatures to move up the scale parts of New England, but very comfortable heading into the mid-Atlantic. Some picture perfect weather for you. Midday, the showers, the thunderstorms fire up in the murky atmosphere here as we go down into parts of Georgia and Florida, and also here we're going to find some pretty wet conditions working on along our front from the Great Lakes back out into the northern plain states. And we'll be watching for some heavier and more persistent rain again right here along this particular front. That'll be a spot to watch as well. There's a look at your highs heading into Thursday. Notice how the 90s are spreading northward again. Omaha, Des Moines, warmer for you, keeping it hot into Kansas City and St. Louis, keeping it hot too along much of the Gulf Coast. But our little backdoor front squeaking through North Georgia might just supply you with more comfortable air, looking at some 80s there as we head on into your Thursday. Question for you, will those comfortable or more comfortable readings last in parts of the southeast? Let's check it out as we take a look at your extended travel forecast.
This mattress is too soft. Uh-oh, this mattress is too hard. But this body cushion makes any mattress just right. Introducing the Contour Cloud Body Cushion, designed to mold to the contour of your body as it aligns your spine for the best night's sleep of your life. The secret is memory foam, heat-sensitive material that molds to your entire body with unbelievable comfort, while its yellow lumbar support system supports your lower back in any position. Plus, its blue base helps support and align your entire spine. The Contour Cloud cushion works on top of any mattress. This memory foam mattress costs almost $1,000. Now you can try the Contour Cloud free for 30 days. Keep it and we'll bill you 4 payments of only $19.95. But wait, we'll send you the Contour Cloud pillow, a $20 value, free. We guarantee you the best night's sleep ever. This free trial offer is not available in stores, so call now.
very pleasant Thursday morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the Weather Channel. I'm Vivian Brown along with Mark Mancuso. It is 5:30 Eastern Time. You've tuned in just in time for Weather Center, and we have a lot to talk about. Some development overnight in the tropics. We have our second depression of the season in the Atlantic Basin.
And it could soon become Tropical Storm Bonnie, and we'll show you that in just a second. But in the east, change in the seasons, already some record low temperatures coming in. Albany, New York, in one of those cities. And let's take a look at those temperatures and also our tropical system. This is the one that Vivian's been talking about. You can see it pretty clearly on the satellite picture, the big blob just off to the east of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. This is our tropical depression. This is forecast to move off towards the west-northwest, and it will be threatening Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands Thursday night into Friday with showers and gusty winds. And it could be worse or it could be less, just depending upon the track of this system here. Here you can see it, the latest from the Hurricane Center, Tropical Depression 2, and this soon could become Tropical Storm Bonnie. 16.8 north, 53.6 west, 525 miles off to the east of the Leeward Islands. Winds 35 miles an hour sustained around our circulation center. Movement west-northwesterly at 16. And of course, we'll keep you updated on this, give you the full report and storm watch at 50 minutes past the hour. We've been watching a weak tropical system here in the Gulf of Mexico. It appears that most of the activity is down here now, and it looks like that's slated for the coast of Mexico. Earlier, we did see an upper low move its way through Florida and Florida Straits. What's left of that energy now drifting through the Gulf without much fanfare, and another system passing over Hispaniola yesterday and not showing much organization as it moves its way towards the Florida Straits, but we'll watch it. Here's your high pressure coming into the east, shoving a front all the way down into Georgia this morning. Looking at the water vapor loop, you can see this darkening area here slipping down into the south. That is the dry air with this high pressure moving down into the southeastern United States. And we can see that on the dew points too. Dew points dropping from the 70s in the deep south to the 50s in North Carolina and Virginia, and into the 40s and 30s once we get into the New England states. So as we take a look at the 24-hour temperature change, you can see how the cool air is just coming right down the east coast like molasses here, right down into Virginia and North Carolina. Temperature is dropping 10 to 15 degrees from what they were yesterday at this time. You can really see the contrast too. 72 in Atlanta, 55 in Raleigh, and as we head our way up the coast, getting some local effects here in New York City, but here you can see the real trend of the air, much cooler conditions coming in. But of course, you can see summer's not over by a long shot in the south and in the plains. 75 right now in Des Moines, Iowa. Into the northeast we go. You can see it's a tranquil morning here. Lightning hits show the storms way out to sea, and off to the west, not much happening around the Great Lakes. Here it is, high pressure sitting right over central Pennsylvania. Temperatures dipping into the low 40s this morning in Elmira. Definitely sweater and light jacket weather here. 58 Boston, 64 New York City, and 59 in Washington, D.C. As we travel to the south, well, here you can see that area of rain and storms just drifting west into the Atlanta metropolitan area. East side of town, very heavy rains this morning. West side of town, you can just see a lot of lightning as you take a look off to the east. And off to the east, that's where most of the rain has been. Scattered thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast, and you can see a few here getting very close to Beaumont and Port Arthur. Looking at the radar from the south, there have been a few showers on the east coast of Florida between Daytona and St. Augustine here. Well, up to the north, there's that area of rain just easing its way westward into Atlanta. And as we get a closer view of this, you see it's raining pretty hard around Gainesville and Lawrenceville, and then southward down I-75 here, just to the north of Macon. Big clump of rain here. That's just drifting westward into the Roswell area and Alpharetta. Kind of soggy this morning for your early morning commute down Route 400. As we take a look at temperatures, here it is, the cool air coming into North Carolina, 55 in Raleigh, but still quite mild and muggy across the south. 81 in Miami right now, 80 degrees in Dallas. Quiet weather from Missouri right over to Michigan and Ohio. And up to the north, thunderstorms with very heavy rain showing up in southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, around Albert Lee, Minnesota. We did have some reports of flooding here, and cars were underwater as we picked up rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour along this very slow moving front. behind the front, the air cools just a little bit. Some patchy fog forming north of Minneapolis up around St. Cloud. A lot of the east. Look at this, Flint, Cleveland, Cincinnati, looking beautiful this morning. To the west, though, still a taste of summer. And with more on your forecast, here's Viv.
Okay, the midday hour shows high pressure really setting the standards over the northeast. Beautiful conditions, afternoon highs in the mid-70s, Boston, New York City, and upper 70s as you head southward. So very nice, no complaints, I'm sure. This surface cold front, though, will swing across the central Great Lakes, approaching Chicago later this afternoon. We could find some thunderstorms in Chi-Town, and notice how it pulls back across the front range of the Rockies with moisture all along it. Thunder showers will be scattered over the Intermountain West as we still have moisture coming in. It's that monsoonal pattern here. So with the afternoon heating, the moisture will aid in providing scattered showers and thunderstorms from New Mexico into Colorado. We will also watch for showers to hug the Gulf Coast and an enhanced chance of the wet conditions in southern Texas with our low pressure moving across the western Gulf. So precipitation forecast like this with our surface front here and the moisture over the Gulf Coast. It'll be dry and sunny most of Missouri, and that's where we'll find hot conditions, 90s in the forecast, 100s in central Oklahoma. But the weather pick area of the day again is in the northeast. Very nice midweek conditions for you. Boston, again, 75 today and up to 81 in Washington, D.C. But I'm sure folks in the northeast know how to enjoy this nice weather.
I'm sure they will, and might want to have a little cup of coffee this morning to take a little of that chill out of the air.
Okay, stay with us. We'll check on the traveling conditions for you as well. That's coming up next.
Witness the power of the tarot.
With over 22 years of tarot experience, I have witnessed amazing changes. As an expert in this ancient oracle that dates back thousands of years, I will tell you everything you should know. Call now and you will be dealt your very own special tarot cards. Be prepared for an extremely accurate and revealing reading. Tarot cards should not be underestimated. These powerful cards may make all the difference in your life. They have ancient spiritual powers to change lives, reveal fortunes, even generate wealth. As an expert in this ancient oracle, I may reveal money matters, romantic encounters, how to avoid costly mistakes, your future happiness, and how to achieve your dreams. I want the cards to work for you and answer your questions. But you must call now.
Caution, a tarot card reading may be very personal and intense. Be prepared for amazing...
We are looking at a few heavy downpours this morning in of all places in the south in Georgia along a cold front. And to the north in Minnesota and Iowa, we've seen some very heavy rains with flooding in Albert Lee. But in the tropics, the big story is our new tropical depression. So let's take a look at it in our tropical update. Tropical Depression 2, as of 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, centered at 16.8 north, 53.6 west. That position is about 525 miles to the east of the Leeward Islands. Top wind sustained with our circulation around low pressure, 35 miles an hour. Movement west-northwesterly at 16. Estimated pressure, 29.68 inches or 1,005 millibars. At the present time, we do have tropical storm watches for the islands of Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Martin, Saba, and St. Eustatius here. That is in the northeastern islands here in the Leewards here. Forecast movement of our tropical depression is off to the west-northwest, which would take the bulk of the intense weather north of the islands, just north of the islands, if the storm was to move off towards the northwest, or should I say the tropical depression move off to the northwest. But we are looking at this to intensify into a tropical storm probably within the next 12 to 24 hours at the very most. Here you can see Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands right in through here. Here your Leeward Islands, and here we see the clouds and the heavy showers in association with our tropical depression. As you can see, it's a big clump of convection in through here. This continues to move off towards the west-northwest here. Appears your circulation center is probably in here somewhere. And this movement would take it just off to the northeast of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands tonight and tomorrow. So it looks like your most intense weather in the form of heavy showers and gusty winds coming in tonight and tomorrow here, and hopefully the forecast movement will be off to the west-northwest and not more westerly, which would put these islands under a greater threat. So that's why you have to be on the alert for this system that is getting better organized and is knocking on the doorstep. If this was to become a tropical storm, the next name up on our list is Bonnie. We've already had Alex. Alex, a very weak system, but Bonnie is the next name on our tropical list for the Atlantic 1998 season. So as we take a look at the big picture for you, here you can see our tropical depression right here. It's moving off towards the west-northwest. It is forecast to continue this motion here over the next 24 to 72 hours, really, if you were to take a forecast out. And that would place the worst of the weather to the northeast, to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, and just to the east of the Bahamas. But again, with a developing system here, the environment could change. And if the environment changes, that may force the storm on a more westerly track, or it may even pull it more towards the northwest. So right now, short-term forecast, the best we can give you, next 12, 24 hours, intensifying, moving west-northwesterly, and that would bring the squally weather into Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands Thursday night, tonight, and Friday. So stay tuned for updates on this one, and they will be forthcoming from the Hurricane Center and from us throughout the day today. As we get you into the Gulf of Mexico, I've been watching that area of disturbed weather drift its way off towards the west here. As you can see, it is poorly organized. It's still getting a little bit too much of a northerly flow over the system here. And as you can see on our satellite trends, looks like most of the significant weather is directed into Mexico and not into Texas. We're watching an upper low move its way westward across the Gulf of Mexico yesterday, weak tropical wave in through here. Still see some disturbed weather out here, but if there's going to be any organization, it would be slow to occur. And if there was to be any, it would be pushed off towards the west. Also yesterday, we were watching another tropical wave right over Hispaniola, right over the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And with the proximity of this tropical wave to land, that inhibited any type of development. Now the energy with this feature moving off towards the west-northwest here. And as you can see, we're not looking at any type of a significant development with this in the immediate future. So these are the features closer to home that we've been watching, but none of them very well organized at all. Once again, we can see our tropical depression. There's Puerto Rico, your Virgin Islands here. This will continue to move off towards the west-northwest. Behind that, we're watching another disturbance way out here. This too has some potential for development. And this will be monitored very closely, and it's off to the southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. As we get you closer to home, cold front draped across the northern plains, heavy downpours with that. Another one down here in Georgia, heavy rains moving into the eastern suburbs of Atlanta. Greatest threat for severe weather, the Black Hills into eastern Montana today and tonight. Heaviest of the rains will be falling here, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa this morning, where we have had localized flooding problems.
The mercury dips with record low temperatures in the northeast and scattered showers in parts of the southeast. Find out what's happening in your area. Watch Weather Center next.
Excuse me, did you know that grass is a fat-free food? And so is Hershey's chocolate syrup. So it adds no fat to milk or ice cream. And it's always been that way.
Now he tells me.
We decided to get a PC.
We?
He was worried about the cost. Now he just worries about his swing.
When you call 1-800-GATEWAY, they'll set you up with your